Hi, I'm Nikki Fried, Florida's Commissioner of Agriculture. Welcome to the 2022 National Association of County Agricultural Agents annual meeting. Thank you to the Florida Association of County Agriculture Agents and the UF-IFAS Extension System for bringing extension agents from across the country together to celebrate the ways you all make agriculture stronger. Agriculture is the second largest industry in the state of Florida, with an economic impact of nearly $150 billion and employing over 2.4 million Floridians, including farmers, ranchers, and fishermen. Florida has over 300 commodities, 1.2 million acres of national forest lands, and 47,000 farms and ranches, and a booming agritourism business. And that's just a short list of what we have to offer. I hope you'll get a chance to see the impact our state's agriculture community has in our country during your time in Florida. Thank you again for the Florida Association of County Agriculture Agents for hosting this year's meeting, and thank you to all the extension agents that work tirelessly every day to support and educate our ag community. The Commissioner's Ag Environmental Leadership Awards has been presented annually since 1994 to recognize outstanding stewardship by members of Florida's agriculture community. This award honors those who use best management practices to conserve our natural resources while growing the food that feeds the world.
I walk a lot of farms and they're all unique. And I'd say to characterize Marshall Farms, you gotta say they're very progressive. Probably one of the most progressive farms that I work with.
Well, I've been working with James and Nick for the past 3 years with the Florida Department of Ag Best Management Practices Program, and they were one of the first farms in Okaloosa County to enroll in the program. The reason we're doing the BMPs is for water quality and water quantity if you're irrigating. So they have both on the farm. We're trying to reduce the amount of nutrients and sediment leaving the farm for water quality. And if we can reduce the amount of irrigations we have to put out each year, that's water quantity for the whole state.
One example of a water-saving BMP was to have the Mobile Irrigation Lab Service install low-flow nozzles on their center pivot irrigation systems. The farm also plants cover crops and employs strip tilling to improve soil health, reduce erosion, and increase water quality. Other BMPs include using GPS grid sampling and variable rate technologies to precisely apply nutrients. Utilizing the John Deere Exact Apply sprayer, for example, the Marshalls apply up to 10% less pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides while eliminating drift over to neighboring crops or properties.
Grid sampling, for instance, where you're taking a soil sample across the grid and then you use variable rate fertility. So you're not applying fertilizer and crop protection materials where they don't need to be. You direct it to the areas where the soil sample calls for it. So that's extremely environmentally friendly.
The Jungle Nursery, a 30-acre tropical landscape in the middle of Homestead, Florida. Owning a small family nursery can be demanding, but operating a nursery surrounded by residential neighborhoods brings its own set of challenges. From water use to fertilization, every procedure factors in the well-being of the plants with a potential impact to the surrounding communities. Environmentally focused, the Jungle Nursery uses a number of best management practices to maintain a healthy balance. For Sandy, there is no other way.
From the very first time I met him, he talked about environmental issues because BMPs have always been a topic of conversation. And FNGLA growers have a BMP document that they adhere to in terms of what he does in nutrient management in terms of the water that leaves his property, trying to reduce the nutrients in the water, trying to be careful with the fertilization practices he uses, the potting at different pots. They're all part of the AMPIC practice, and Sandy, I think, does as many of those practices as possible.
When I came here, he was already on that pathway, so I think he's always been conscious of what he does that has the least impact on his footprint.
One of the common threats at the nursery are spider mites, tiny destructive insects that feed on the material inside the plant's cells. While the use of manufactured miticides can effectively address the problem, the lingering residue could leach into the surrounding community. Instead, Sandy has chosen a method that would not only protect the plants, but the environment as well. As part of an integrated pest management program, the nursery employs predatory mites to combat the destructive mites right on the plants. The beneficial insects hunt down and destroy the offending mites naturally, without using chemicals.
Wild Goose Farms is a 905-acre property near Umatilla, producing blueberries, citrus, cattle, and hay. As stewardship is essential to their faith, the Allisons have integrated cutting-edge technology to save fertilizer, fuel, and millions of gallons of water each year.
We are really pushing forward on the integration of technology specifically into our irrigation management.
The science starts in the field, where multiple devices communicate current conditions via wireless transmitters. This hardware includes soil moisture probes and weather stations located throughout the farm. Tanks and pumps are placed in strategic locations, ready to mix the right recipe of water and nutrition upon demand.
18 and 19 probably needs a little bit more fertilizer, so I'm going to open the valves for it. If you want to start it on your phone, that'd be great.
By simply checking a mobile device app or computer, team members can quickly determine the status of these specific plants and deliver exactly what they need to grow.
One of the benefits of having all the technology that we have is if our plants are low in nitrogen, we're able to spoon feed them and give them exactly what they need and not just dumping it on it based on what we feel.
Using micro-drip irrigation systems, water and nutrients are delivered directly to the plant's root systems, minimizing evaporation and reducing the risk of overflow into the Floridan aquifer. The application of this technology has reduced water by 20% while increasing yields by more than 30%.
I'd like to see more growers doing what he's doing, because it's one thing to know how much water a plant needs during the course of a day, but it's a whole nother thing to deliver that water to the plant in a way that the plant can take it up efficiently and not waste it.
Located near the St. Johns River, just north of Hastings, Florida, sits Blue Sky Farms. Blue Sky is a 500-acre, fourth-generation family farm in the heart of Florida's potato country.
We have a unique soil system here in North Florida. There's hard pan 2 to 3 feet down, so the water percolates down to that level, so it's not like deep sands that keep going down.
In the past, potato farmers would flood irrigate by filling perimeter ditches with water. In the 70s, PVC pipelines were introduced and installed, increasing irrigation efficiencies by 50%. Irrigation drain tile has been the latest breakthrough to be utilized, which has further increased irrigation efficiencies by another 40%.
Mark, this is the one of the systems here, and kind of want to get your input on the depth of the water.
Irrigation drain tile is a subsurface irrigation system that keeps water and nutrients in the field, drastically reducing both water consumption and nitrogen and phosphorus runoff. Since implementing these techniques, not only has water use decreased, but yields have increased. Blue Sky Farms has regularly partnered with the University of Florida to analyze its water and fertilizer use, and after a harvest, cover crops are planted to help prevent soil erosion, wind erosion, take up residual nutrients, and improve soil health.
Cover crops are very important to us because it maintains organic material in the soil, so it makes it healthy throughout. So if you don't have a good cover crop, it could affect your crop 2 or 3 years down the line. So cover crops are critical for our process.
Right, so the fact that you plant this very quickly after the potato crop, so if there's any nitrogen left, your cover crop takes all that nitrogen up. So there shouldn't be any nitrogen running off.
Exactly right.
Near the headwaters of the NACAA River is Blackbeard's Ranch. This cow-calf operation is located on one of the largest undeveloped properties left in southwest Florida. Just a short drive from Sarasota, much of the ranch land looks like it did hundreds of years ago. Blackbeard's covers more than 4,500 acres and is home to a large herd of Beefmaster, Brayford, and Brangus cattle. But the cows rarely see part of this land. Nearly a third of the property is preserved in its natural state through conservation easements. Easement programs allow farmers and ranchers to keep and manage their property rather than developing it. These programs are essential to protecting the region's wildlife and water resources, as 1,000 new residents arrive in Florida daily.
Everybody needs clean water. It doesn't matter whether you're in the city, country, anywhere else. But it just doesn't automatically come out of the faucet. There are things that goes on out here on the landscape to ensure that you have clean water. My hat's off to Mr. Strickland for being a part of this, to be able to think forward and to have the love for the land.
The easement that we have on Blackbeard is contributing to conserving those water resources, improving water quality as we restore the wetlands on this property.
Julie Morris is the Florida manager with the National Wildlife Refuge Association and works with Jim on easements and water restoration projects. She says Deer Prairie slough and rainwater that falls on these lands in Sarasota and Manatee counties directly impact the nearby NACAA River State Park.
These cattle ranches protect our water and protect our wildlife. We have clean water in the NACAA River because ranches like this one do such a good job managing their property.
As the world's need for food increases and the amount of productive farmland decreases, Florida agriculture is finding new ways to do more with less. Through the use of new technologies to increase yields and lower cost, new advances to address devastating plant pests and diseases, or employing traditional farming methods in unconventional ways, Florida's farmers and ranchers are at the forefront of agriculture innovation.
When Ed Pines began growing citrus in Florida, the industry was at its peak, harvesting over 200 million boxes annually. Florida citrus, the iconic symbol of the Sunshine State, was a major pillar in the state's economy. But in 2005, the industry was dealt a major blow. Citrus greening had entered Florida. Greening is a devastating disease caused by the Asian citrus psyllid and is impacting citrus production throughout the world.
We're all started to spray 12 to 14 times a year, using a lot of insecticides and pesticides to control that HLB. Our fertilizers and nitrogen consumption has gone up because our root has decreased, have been damaged. So for us, we were looking at, is there a way that we can improve our growing practices, trying to decrease the inputs of fertilizers, water, pesticides.
In 2012, Ed Pines formed the citrus consulting company EIP Citrus Management, LLC, and began to explore alternative farming methods. In 2014, his search led him to the University of Florida's Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences. There, Pines saw an experimental protective growing technique known as citrus under protective screen, or CUPS.
We can completely exclude the Asian citrus psyllid, which spreads the disease, from contacting the citrus, and thereby the citrus does not become infected. And the mechanism is quite simply a large screen house, large enough to grow citrus all the way up to a full bearing size, so that we can harvest fruit of it.
In 2016, he adapted IFAS's system to a 20-acre grove in Lake Wales. Ed is growing 340 trees per acre, nearly 60% higher than Florida's traditional citrus groves. The CUP's automated irrigation system also reduces the use of labor, fuel, fertilizer, pesticides, and water. CUP structures also have 25% lower evaporation rates, dropping irrigation time and cycles, reducing the water use. Hines also feels the minerals in the soil will help his fresh fruit regain that Florida taste that has been lost since HLB arrived and distorted fruit flavor.
For us as an organization or for growers, you think it's ridiculous to have to, grow citrus under a tent, under a house, under a screened room. You can't fathom the cost, of doing it that way, but the more you listen, and of course the more that Ed showed us his vision and shared his vision with us, it became real, and it's going to transform the way that we see a fresh fruit industry in Florida.
Angela Tenbrook is a fourth-generation farmer. On her farm, Worldwide Aquaponics in East Palatka, Florida, she carries on the family tradition of hydroponic and aquaponic farming.
I say 4 generations because starting with my great-grandfather, we began working inside of greenhouses. So for 4 generations, we've been working and farming differently.
Aquaponic farming takes advantage of the symbiotic relationship between fish and plants. The fish waste provides nutrients to the plants, and the plants filter and clean the water, which is then returned to the fish tanks.
We refer to our water inside of our greenhouses as soil water because we have all the components that is needed for plants to grow in a very hospitable, beautiful environment all the time.
Utilizing controlled environments, aquaponics allows for crops of the highest quality to be grown from seed to harvest in as little as 30 days, with a fraction of the land and water needed for traditional farming. And being a closed-loop system means no effluent, fertilizers, or pesticides ever leaves the farm. This is very important to Angela because Worldwide Aquaponics is only a short walk away from the St. Johns River.
Phosphorus has the potential to harm this river. The way Angela is doing things, she doesn't have to pick a rate. She doesn't have to say, I want to apply 100 pounds of phosphorus per acre in order to make my potatoes productive. She gets to say, I'm going to produce phosphorus naturally through my fish waste, and I'm going to give my plants the opportunity to take up as much phosphorus as they want. And what they don't want to use will just get recycled back into the waste stream. And that is a beautiful model for our future.
She was able to shut down almost, 3.5 million gallons of water a day of discharge into this estuary. And that is hugely powerful. That affects us, everybody from right up through Hastings all the way up into Jacksonville and the estuaries all the way around Jacksonville and the St. Johns River. Angela's aquaponics is groundbreaking in all senses of how she goes about it, from the way she staffs it to the way she cultivates the plants. She's basically restructuring the way you can utilize a property like this or a farm.
We have created a modular robotic vehicle that automates the harvesting and packing of strawberries. Each harvester has 16 independently working robots outfitted with our vision system and vision AI.
With our vision system, each berry on a plant is scanned to determine if it is ripe, healthy, and ready to be picked. With 1 robot per plant, each robot has 6 picking claws made from FDA silicone rubber and set to pick a berry without damaging the fruit. With 6 picking claws per robot, there are 96 picking claws ready to harvest, as the harvester autonomously navigates its way through acres of strawberry fields. Through the eyes of our vision system's dual cameras and played back at half speed, this video helps to illustrate the immense amount of information that is being processed in real time. Here, the targeting system identifies ripe berries and their coordinates to ensure exact placing of the picking claw. Played back in real time, the plant is scanned, then the berries are targeted and picked within 8 seconds. During our spring 2020 field testing, we added our berry transport system. This modular add-on carries the berries from each of the robots to the top of the harvester for inspection and packing. For the first phase of on-harvester packaging, a small team of quality control personnel perform a final quality inspection and pack individual clamshells. With our harvester-mounted LiDAR system, we now have 360-degree, three-dimensional data of the fields, plants, and all objects below and surrounding the harvester. This allows for more precise navigation down rows of strawberries and provides 3D view to the harvester so that it does not collide with growing rows, people, and other obstructions that are in the harvester's path. This spring, our harvester is field testing 2 to 3 days a week in our Florida fields. Our team is monitoring the performance of the harvester as a whole and each of its subsystems to evaluate performance and determine methods for improving accuracy, uptime, and to identify cost reduction measures.
The Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services Division of Marketing and Development administers the Fresh from Florida program to promote Florida's commodities to shoppers and increase consumer access to Florida-grown products. The widely recognized Fresh from Florida brand represents the state's more than 47,000 farms and ranches spread over 9.7 million acres in Florida, with a reputation of producing a wide variety of safe and dependable food. Fresh from Florida symbolizes the hard work our growers put in each and every day, and it recognizes the pride we have in all things Florida grown.
Cooking.
Hey guys, I'm Peyton Aston.
Chad Chastain here.
Kirsten over at Long and Scott Farms.
Which Farms partners with Central Florida School.
We're hoping the rain holds off, and that's Brittany Lee with Florida Blue Farms.
At the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, we're working hard to ensure that our agriculture community is supported in every way possible. But we couldn't do it without the help of our partners like you. So once again, thank you for the impact you have on everyone who lives in our country and our state, especially for the impact on our farmers, ranchers, and producers. Your passion and dedication keeps our country growing. Thank you for all that you do.